Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, it's time to look at a new Ninetales card. Ninetales is often kind of interesting, and after that embarrassment that was the Ninetales from the V deck, the first Sword and Shield era Ninetales, it's nice to know that we can come back with a significantly better Ninetales. Our translation here does come from the lovely David Hockman over at limitlesstcg.com/translations. And starting off with the basics, we've got 120 HP, which is, I'm going to go ahead and say, aggressively fine. It's alright. We got a retreat cost of 1, which is nice and low and opens up things like U-turn board. We got a weakness to water, which, I'll be honest with you, Frostmoth is looking really good in the Sword and Shield metagame, which means that any water deck can be like, hey, let's throw Frostmoth in and then be really good, which is likely to see an increase in play of water decks. And for Pokemon like Ninetales, weak to water, not ideal. The good news is you're a fire Pokemon, which means you're hitting weakness on things like Rillaboom, and it also means you are hitting weakness against stuff like, Zacian V. And the thing is, Zacian V is phenomenal, but it is worth pointing out that Zacian V is also going to be playing Metal Frying Pan, so a lot of the time they're going to have a tool which takes away their weakness, and you're not going to have a way of getting rid of their tool, and that's going to be a little bit sad. But it means you've got Welder to accelerate energy, and Heat Factory Prism Star to draw extra cards, and it's a good time to be a fire Pokemon. But Ninetales is not necessarily a deck that really relies on being a fire Pokemon. Although, once again, this artwork is phenomenal. This might be the best set for artwork we've had in a very long time. 1 fire energy, 30 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by any special condition, this attack does 120 damage. 120 damage is a lot for a single energy on a single prize Pokemon. Like, really quite a lot. Actually, I've got to show you the artwork for the Vulpix. Sorry, I'm distracting myself here, but this Vulpix artwork is beyond adorable. But back to the Ninetales, 120 for a single energy is really good. It means you're going to get a one-hit KO on a lot of non-GX, non-Vs. Not all of them, mind you, but a lot of them. And it also means that you're going to be 2-hit KOing a lot. Now, really the key point here is that you are getting a 1-hit KO on Zacian V. Again, we've got to be hoping they're not playing Metal Frying Pan, but you are getting a 1-hit KO. You're also getting a 1-hit KO on Zamazenta V, who's a little bit beefier, but you're good. Now, when I say 1-hit KO on them, you've got to remember it's not just the fact that they're playing Metal Frying Pan to take away their weakness, but Metal Frying Pan also reduces damage done by 30. And about half the list tend to play Lucario and Melmetal, which will reduce damage done by 30, so you might end up being a tiny bit short. But it's not going to stop you playing something like a Vitality Band to bridge the gap here. Point is, good amount of damage for a single energy. But then again, you're only getting the extra damage if the Pokemon is affected by a special condition, which means it's not just the 120 damage, it's also the fact that they're affected by a special condition. If they're poisoned, they're taking an extra 10 between turns. If they're burned, they're taking an extra 20 between turns and then flipping a coin to see if they can be cured. If they're paralyzed, they can't attack next turn. If they're asleep, they've got to flip a heads in order to do anything next turn. If they're confused, they've got to flip a heads, or else their attack fails and they take 30 damage, etc. Point is, we need to look at this as more than just 120 damage and start going, well, actually, it's a little bit more than that. Now, the big question here, of course, how are we getting special conditions on? Now, if you're in the expanded format, you're just going Hypnotoxic Laser. There we go, problem solved. Outside of the expanded format, we do need to get a tiny bit more creative, but we do have a bunch of options. Now, one of my favorites here is actually Mareep. Once during your turn, if this is your active Pokemon, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon asleep. And it's got a retreat cost of 1, so U-turn board will work quite nicely. Now, this is where you can start getting a little bit fun. Because, of course, if you're using Mareep for sleep, why would you not be using Slumbering Forest? Slumbering Forest, any Pokemon that is asleep between turns, has to flip 2 coins. And if either of them is tails, that Pokemon is still asleep. So now you're making your opponent flip double heads just to wake up. Tell me that doesn't sound like an awful lot of fun. It should sound like an awful lot of fun. And now you're getting the extra damage and they're asleep. And this is really the hook of Ninetales. 120 for a single energy is good, make no mistake about it. But it's not just 120, it's 120 plus whatever special condition happens to be afflicting them at this moment in time. Yeah, it makes a gigantic difference. It really, really does. Now, that's probably my favourite option, but there are a bunch of others. There is a Vileplume that lets you flip a coin, and if heads, you get to choose a special condition other than paralysis. That could be really fun to get the right one at the right time. But it's a stage 2 and it's on a coin flip. We do have the Tapu Lele from Lost Thunder, that when you attach a Fairy Charm to it, you leave your opponent's active Pokemon confused. If you're using that, might I suggest using the Magearna that lets you essentially pick up one of your Pokemon tools. That is going to help you out quite immensely, because then you don't need to worry about having a tool every turn. You can just pick it up and then put it right back down again. So this is also a really nice option. We could also, there's a Dustox from Lost Thunder, but it's only when you evolve and it's a stage 2, so maybe not. Although, to be fair, that is paralyzed and poisoned, and it's 3 damage counters for poison. Amoonguss, when you play a Pokemon that has Spore from your hand, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon asleep and poisoned. If you're wondering, we're talking the Foongus, from which it evolves, and we are talking about the Breloom, that's got a really nice attack if the defending Pokemon is asleep. The options aren't phenomenal, but honestly, Mareep and Tapu Lele are probably the best ones we've got. In terms of easy to use, single prize Pokemon that aren't opening up multiple prize liabilities, these are the best ones to go for, and you should be able to do this fairly easily if you want to. And then if they're confused and you're hitting them for 120 for single energy, that's a good thing. Now, as for the attack here, the main attack, the big attack, the free energy attack, which is not the main attack. Free energy, 90 damage plus sleep. It's fine. Again, you can use Slumbering Forest to make it better. And you've got Welder, so you can get all the energy on there in a single turn. And it's a non-GX, non-V, so you can use Twin Energy. So it's 2 energy attachments, but Welder is better. It's fine. If they're not affected by a special condition, 90 plus sleep is alright, but it's not phenomenal. Don't get too excited. It's fine. Just fine. Just okay. But the other thing we need to mention here is, we've got the phenomenal Ninetales from Team Up, that if you discard 2 fire energy from your hand, you get to gust one of your opponent's Pokemon into the active. And if you're playing this Ninetales, you're playing Vulpix. And if you're playing Vulpix, why not play this Ninetales as well? As a side note, you could always play them both off of Ditto Prism Star, but this isn't really a one-card tech like some of the others we've talked about lately. This is pop it in a fire deck, so you might as well play Vulpix. And being able to play both the Ninetales together is a huge advantage, because now you've got the gusting and you've got the decent attack. The thing that worries me slightly is, you're not going to be playing one of these special condition Pokemon in a fire deck naturally, so it might not just fit in as a nice tech into a Reshiram and Charizard deck, but that's okay. You could play it as its own deck and just chuck a couple other fire Pokemon in. You've got Welder, it's going to be easy enough. What you've got here is a really nice attack, and we've got some ways to get special conditions on, and there's a lot to be said for that. I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. That might be slightly generous, but I'm really honestly okay with that. I think what we've got here is a really nice Pokemon, and if we're willing to use special conditions, and I think a lot of the time, why would you not be willing to? I think there is a lot of fun that can be had here. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/TheWassie. patreon.com/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are very, very nice indeed. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.